Happy Friday. Hello and welcome to the Art of Affirmations session. Hope you enjoyed the session last week on primary foods and hope you got a chance to look at it if you haven't tuned into it yet. Today we are diving into affirmations. So let's get started. What is an affirmation? An affirmation is a positive statement which is used to challenge negative or unwanted thoughts. Affirmation as a word in and of itself refers to an act of saying or showing that something is true. Like, say, for example, when we say they nodded their heads in affirmation, it means that they agreed with it, right? They said that's fine, that's right, kind of a response. Self affirmation, which is actually what we're going to be focusing on today, takes that one step further. The official definition of self affirmation is the act of affirming one's own worthiness and value as an individual for beneficial effect. And what is that beneficial effect? Beneficial effects such as increasing one's confidence, raising self esteem, right? So, based on this definition that I have just provided to you for self affirmation, do you think this will benefit you? And how would you currently rate your own self esteem? So I'll repeat the definition one more time. Self affirmation is the act of affirming one's own worthiness and value as an individual for beneficial effects such as increasing self confidence or raising self esteem. So take this moment, guys, to think about how you would rate your own self esteem. Now, why do we even need to do these affirmations, right? So, before we get there, let's talk a little bit about how harsh we are on ourselves. Many of us are very critical of ourselves um, than anybody else. Um, why? Because we've created negative core beliefs throughout our lives. These core beliefs are based on personal experiences and the lessons we take away from them. These beliefs can also come from observing others. For example, if you had a parent who was highly self-critical, then you're more likely to be that way as well. These patterns of negative thinking develop early and become paths in your brain that your brain turns to when it needs an answer. Like, say, for example, if something bad happens at work, you're trying to figure out what went wrong, but your brain will begin running through old patterns and beliefs, such as you're not smart enough, you're not good enough, you messed up, you always mess up. But the good news, guys, is that you can change those patterns. It just takes some practice. So, how do our brains create knowledge about ourselves? How do we even have this information about our own selves, these perceptions or these feelings or thoughts about our own selves? Our brains are built to create information that is based on our personal interpretation of patterns and assumptions. When we don't have all the information about a particular situation or something or someone, we fill in the blanks based on the information we already have. And this comes from where? It comes from what others have told us about ourselves or how we interpret others' perceptions. Okay? If you had someone in your life who bullied you, abused you, or told you that you weren't enough or good enough, those negative thoughts tend to stick. That's the issue with assumptions as well. They are not always accurate, but they can get saved into our subconscious memory anyway. Negative thoughts, attitudes, patterns, feelings actually can create chronic stress in the body, which can have serious consequences. I'm talking about physical, mental consequences, leading to imbalance in our hormones, imbalance of chemicals in the brain, and a damaged immune system. These are just a few of the effects that chronic stress and negative thoughts can have on the body. So, practicing affirmations can help you on the physical level also to a great extent. Okay. And why do they work? Let's talk about why do they work. Affirmations work because of something called self-affirmation theory. This theory begins with the premise that people are motivated to maintain the integrity of self. This theory begins with the premise that people are motivated to maintain the integrity of self. Therefore, People will reflect on their strengths and values when faced with challenges, difficult situations, or when they need to overcome a barrier. In other words, affirmations actually help to protect the ego. We seek new favorable knowledge to revise pre existing or unfavorable view of ourselves. To seek self affirmation, some people might post a picture on social media that will get them a lot of attention. Some seek direct assurance from friends, family, and some use positive affirmations to provide that information directly to themselves. Now let's talk about affirmations and neuroscience. So the development of self-affirmation theory has led to neuroscientific research about how the brain is affected when we self-affirm in positive ways. MRI scans have shown that when people practice self-affirmation, certain neural pathways get increased in the information processing part of our brain. This means that those who practice self affirmation are able to effectively change the way they process information about themselves. Positive affirmations help us to respond in a less defensive and resistant way when we are presented with threats. Okay? Positive affirmations help us to respond in a less defensive and resistant way when we are presented with threats. That's because by developing a better sense of self, we are boosting our self esteem and we feel more capable of handling difficulties when they arise. A lot of you might be thinking, what's the difference between affirmations and a positive mantra? Okay, some of you have heard of mantras, which are similar to affirmations, but they're also very different. Let's take a moment to make a distinction between the two. Technically, mantras are sacred words, sounds, verses that carry more spiritual meaning when compared to affirmations. Affirmations, in contrast, as described by the psychology dictionary, affirmations are brief phrases repeated frequently, which are designed to encourage positive, happy feelings, thoughts, and attitudes. So that's the main distinction between the two. Okay. Um, I know I'd mentioned earlier how a lot of our physical problems can also get resolved with self affirmations, but positive affirmations are not designed to be cures for mental diagnosis, or they cannot be a substitute for clinical treatment, guys. However, they are a very beneficial tool. If you're struggling with anxiety or depression, it's likely that you have a negative view of yourself. So, affirmations can be a great thing to incorporate into your overall wellness routine. Okay. I remember I had started to incorporate affirmations when I was 16 years old, and I've used it a lot since then. And I cannot tell you enough about how important and beneficial they are to your overall mental well-being. Okay. Now let's talk about if there are any rules to follow when you're writing affirmations. Okay, we've covered a lot of information. Now let's take a moment to remind. I want to take a moment to remind you that affirmations are not meant to be complicated. They're not meant to be long. They're not meant to be stressful, and they're not certainly meant to be a chore. There are no rules for practicing affirmations in terms of how often you practice, the length, the phrasing, what you say, but there are few guidelines that I would say you want to consider. The first one, okay, the first I would say the first thing I would say is make sure your affirmations are brief. They start with I am, and they are written in present tense. Okay, I'll give you some examples, very soon, but that's how in general you want to frame your affirmations. But before we start to frame affirmations, let's talk about what's the first step. The first step that we need to do is to increase the awareness of our own thoughts. We go throughout our days being mean to ourselves without even realizing it. How many of you look in the mirror and sometimes think, oh, yuck? And then we continue through our day. we eat a donut or we treat ourselves to something um, that's that's not, scale friendly, and then we think, oh, shame on you. We don't really think twice about being so harsh on ourselves. When we allow ourselves to get away with thinking these thoughts, we set a precedent for our own behavior. By increasing your awareness of when and how you speak to yourself, or think to yourself for that matter, because a lot of times we don't speak something to ourselves, we're just processing it in our mind as a thought or feeling it as an emotion. So, by increasing awareness of when and how you speak to yourself, you'll be able to correct your thoughts, and then you can begin reforming patterns of understanding. Becoming aware of your negative thoughts will help you in your fight to reverse them. Okay, but it's not that easy. Sometimes these thoughts can be really hard to catch because we've been so accustomed to allowing them. We let them play in, day out without realizing that they are working in the background. So if you'd like, start off by looking in the mirror and paying attention to where your mind goes. So just look at yourself in the mirror and just observe your mind. Where does it go? Are your thoughts negative or positive? Are you focused on a certain part of your body? And if so, ask yourself where those thoughts are coming from, because um, the trigger of what you are feeling is actually sometimes buried in layers. So when you ask yourself where those thoughts are coming from, you'll be able to dig deeper into what you're actually feeling, what's triggering that response. Okay. Consider situations that trigger negative feelings. For example, putting on a swimsuit might trigger some people. Speaking in front of a group, making new friends can trigger some people. Networking can trigger some people. So triggers create a whoosh, kind of a negative self-talk, and emotions like, hey, they'll never talk to me. I'm so bad at speaking. I'm not good enough to wear a swimsuit. I'm going to waste everybody's time. Anything like that that will just make you feel low in terms of your self-esteem, confidence. So the triggers create this negative self-talk. While these triggers obviously are not making you feel good, consider them as golden nuggets, guys. This is great information because now you can use this information to figure out what is it that you need to shift. So take a moment now to consider what triggers your negative thoughts. Yeah, and if you'd like, you can share with the group, and it's likely that someone else has the same triggers as you, so but just doesn't realize it. So it'll be nice to see if there's anything that you want to share with the group. So think about what triggers your negative thoughts. Okay, so once you're more aware of your thoughts and what triggers those, let's talk about how can we frame our affirmations from that point on. If the words you speak don't have any personal meaning or attachment to you, they probably won't work, guys. You have to use words that resonate with you. That's why it's important to create affirmations for yourself based on your own values and beliefs. For example, if you're not a spiritual person, don't choose spiritual mantras. A good rule of thumb for creating affirmation is to begin your sentence with the phrase "I am," like I said before. Keep it present tense, be as specific, and be brief. Also keep in mind, guys, that the subconscious mind cannot differentiate between negative and positive. So if you want to be successful, refrain from using an affirmation like, I don't want to be a failure. The subconscious mind will dwell on the word failure. It doesn't understand the intention behind it. It'll store the word that you are writing. So in this case, it'll be failure. So make sure you are using the right words and being more in the present tense and not using negation. Like, I don't want this. Say, I am successful. I am a confident person. I am leading a meeting successfully. I am beautiful. I love myself. These are all affirmations that are meeting all these guidelines, this criteria that I was just walking you through. So avoid using I don't, I will not, I cannot, I don't want to. Don't use those. Okay. Oh, this is the fun part. So three apps that work really well if you are looking to um, if you're looking to get ideas on affirmations, or even if you're looking to record your own affirmations. ThinkUp is a great app, guys. You can actually record it. It's very user friendly, and it's my personal favorite. So I've recommended this to so many of my clients. ThinkUp is a beautiful app. Shine is another one, and the third one is Unique Daily Affirmations. Unique daily affirmations allows you to actually personalize it with pictures, sounds, and so on. They send reminders every day, depending on how frequently you want affirmations to be sent to your phone. So these are great resources if you feel like you need some additional help or just some new ideas on how to frame your affirmations. Why do we have to repeat affirmations? When you repeat affirmations, they sink deeper into your subconscious mind. So take a few minutes of your day, 5 minutes, 2 minutes, couple seconds every day, doesn't matter. Ideal time would be early morning and before going to bed, because that time you have less resistance and less distraction. So you can take that time to either listen if you recorded it, or just say it mentally. And say if you don't get those few minutes before sunrise, or before you get busy, or at bedtime, then just sprinkle it throughout the day. Okay, repetition is an important part of helping your brain soak up the information that you're trying to give it. So keep reminding yourself, have some triggers, like when you do the dishes, every time you do the dishes, you're going to say some affirmations. So have some sort of triggers like that will remind you that you have to you know use the affirmations. Yep. If you don't meditate, if you're someone who meditates, then I would say you can use it as part of your meditation. But if you don't do it, if you're not someone who sits down and meditates, then you can include affirmations during your activities, like when you're doing yoga, or when you're running, when you're working out, different forms of workouts, where you can actually incorporate your intention and affirmation. Or even when you're maybe just listening to an audible, or you're doing dishes, like I said, you can use affirmation effectively even then. You can also get very creative and use affirmations for screensavers, write them on post it notes, pin them up on your wall or mirror. Just yesterday, I was telling one of my clients on how she can post a powerful statement to get through. One of the challenges she's going through. So, the visual helps you, calms your mind, your brain, and lets you feel more safe. So it's a good way to um, get even more, make it more like a routine. When it's in front of you, you're not making a special effort. It's just there in front of you. So it's part of your routine then. So just post it on your computer. That works great too. While you're making coffee, there are different ways you can add it, guys. What time do you think would work best for you to incorporate affirmations? And if you're someone who's already doing it, let me know when you practice it. And once you answer that, let me know if you have a favorite affirmation already, or if you've thought about an affirmation as we went through the session. Was there an affirmation that you thought would benefit you? I would love for you to share with the group, and we'd see where everybody is with creating their own affirmation. I think that brings me to the end of the presentation, guys. So let me know um, how you feel about self-affirming, how you plan to use it, and if you already use it, uh, then even then I would love to hear how you've been using it, how successful you've been with it, and any questions, ideas, thoughts you want to share with the group, or any questions for me also. Please let me know, and I will be back with another topic. And yeah, let me know if there's anything else that you feel will benefit you more in terms of mental health, physical health, nutrition, and I can create something along those lines. But for now, have a great weekend, guys, and I will see you again soon. Take care.